Hey everyone, how's it going? I'm Travi Grinds, and Ultimatum League is going to be dropping here in about 13 hours or so. I actually haven't checked here recently, but it's less than a day, and I'm really excited. And there's probably some people out there going, I still don't know what to play. Well, let me show you my Leaguestart build. And when I say Leaguestart build, I actually mean Leaguestart build. I'm not going to sit here and say that, oh, I'm playing some Indigon mana stacking whatever, or some int stacking wanderer, or a cyclone cast while channeling, blah blah blah, all this crazy stuff. No, like this is not gear dependent. It's all rares, no uniques, no fancy shenanigans when it comes to uniques, right? This is, to me, the true embodiment of a Leaguestart character. This is a Vortex Cold Snap Occultist. It was good last league as a league starter. It's still good this league, if not even better, considering Vol Cold Snap did get a pretty good buff. So let's go over it. I don't want to keep you guys too long. Kind of going to keep it short and simple. Tree, very easy to follow. Basically, if we are in radius of a good little life chunk, we take it, right? We come down here, we take the Scion life wheel. We grab this here, these life nodes, some of these life nodes over here by Trickster, right there. You know, some life and ES nodes. Pretty good. I would say that we are a hybrid build. If you look, we have over 5,000 life, a little over 3,000 energy shield. So not too bad in numbers, especially at, you know, level 81. And I will show you that my gear that I have on my character isn't like broken for like a league start, right? It's all pretty easily obtainable gear. Besides life, we grab cold damage over time wherever we can. We grab Breath of Rime. We grab Frost of Fingers. Wait, Fingers of Frost, had that backwards. We also grab Growth and Decay for damage over time multipliers and things like that. A couple instances of regenerate life, nothing. What are we doing? About 121. That's nothing to worry about. But pretty easy to follow. We do pick up No Witness to gain elusive whenever we can. Some jewel sockets, and the two keystones that we're using are Elemental Equilibrium and Elemental Overload. Since we are doing cold damage over time, what we can do is hit the enemy with lightning damage, which will raise their lightning resistance, but that will lower their cold resistance, which means that they take more damage. That's just for anyone who doesn't understand how elemental equilibrium works. We're also using elemental overload. That way, whenever we do crit strike an enemy through our Stormbrand, which is what we will probably be doing it most from, we do get ourselves 40% more elemental damage, which is quite a bit, right? That is quite a bit of damage. So definitely worth taking there. Other than that, Arcane Expanse for some spell damage, some increased AoE, nothing too crazy there. And that's pretty much the skill tree. Very, like I said, very simple. If we're close to life, take it, grab the cold dot nodes, grab these damage over time nodes here. I do have Arcane Swiftness. Actually, I don't even know why I have that on there. I guess just because I had it on there, right? But that's also kind of one of the beauties of this build, is that if you want to change it up, you can. If you want to focus more on blocking as a defensive mechanic, you can take these shield nodes here, these shield nodes here. There's some shield nodes over here. This is a level 77 tree, so very, very early when it comes to leveling in maps. You have plenty of room to, you know, as you gain more passive points, to put them wherever you need to be. If you want to take it low life, you can do that. It's very easy. All you need is the Chevrons, right? You'll take Pain Attunement. Wherever you have life nodes, get rid of those and pick up energy shield nodes. If you want to go CI, same thing. CIs are right here. Next is, you know, these energy shield nodes. Take away the life nodes, take ES nodes. Very easy to do. So it is a very versatile build. I've even thought about messing with some sort of agnostic, mana stacking Archmage Vortex setup could be interesting. Don't know how it'll work. Might play with it, you know, later on down the league. Who knows? But that's the skill tree. I didn't want to elaborate too long on it. Very simple, very straightforward. Plenty of room for improvement. Very versatile. Low life, CI, hybrid, straight life, I guess. If you want to play it that way, you can. Let's go to the skills. Let's start off with our 6th link Vortex. We have Efficacy, Elemental Focus, Swift Affliction, Controlled Destruction, and Hypothermia. These are listed in terms of what does more damage. So efficacy, Elemental Focus do the most. Hypothermia does the least. I would recommend that if you don't have a 6th link, drop Controlled Destruction, right? Hypothermia, although it does less damage, it looks to like it adds more benefits than what Controlled Destruction does, right? Because, where is it? Yeah, like increased effective chill. Controlled Destruction doesn't do that, right? And you could honestly, well, I guess this doesn't hit, so that doesn't matter. I'll get to that in the next one, which is Cold Snap, right? Vol Cold Snap. We kind of just use this to clear a lot of trash. Once we get to the bosses, we kind of like drop Vol Cold Snap, or not Vol Cold Snap. We drop Cold Snap, we drop Vortex on the enemy, so both of those damage over times will kind of, you know, eat away at the enemy pretty quickly. Vol Cold Snap on the really big bad dudes to help take them down even quicker. Bone Chill is really good because Cold Snap leaves a chilling, or, you know, always chills them, right? So if they get chilled by Cold Snap, then enemies are going to take more cold damage over time, which affects our Vortex. So as I was saying with Controlled Destruction, it doesn't, on Vortex it's kind of weird, right? Because Vortex doesn't actually hit an enemy. You cannot crit with Vortex. However, you can crit with Controlled Destruction. Actually, I changed my mind. Wait, no I don't. No I don't. Yeah, if you have a 5 link, don't, you know, drop Cold Destruction until then. Because, I mean, it's just because Hypothermia adds so much. On a 4 link, like, you're gonna get a 4 link. I shouldn't really worry about it too much. Never mind. What I talked about Controlled Destruction earlier on Vortex, yeah, just, that's your 6th link. Probably made that a little bit more confusing. Anyway, Bone Chill, Efficacy, Controlled Destruction. We do have Controlled Destruction, which kind of prevents us from critting with Cold Snap, which is fine. We have other ways to crit. Another 4 link, we have our aura setup. So we have Vault Discipline. I mean, normal discipline will work as well, but if you have a Vault Discipline, why not use it? Malevolence, this is just a really good damage over time skill, some increased skill effect duration, really nice. Clarity and or Vol Clarity if you have it. If you don't have it, again, not a big deal. I should note that you're not going to want to level your Clarity up all the way. If you do, you're going to lock yourself out and you're not going to have enough mana in order to cast your spell. So I think the sweet spot is about 7. If you want to be a little safer, you can try 6 for a while. If you find out 6 is, you know, you still have a bunch of resources to use, or like still a bunch of mana to use, you can go to 7. Same thing. If you feel like you have plenty of mana still, you can go up to 8. Possibly go to 9 if you want to. I wouldn't really go past 8. That's why I say 7 is kind of the sweet spot. And then Enlighten 3. Now, I will say if you're playing SSF, you're not going to have access to an easy Enlighten. So what you can actually do is you can drop Enlighten and you can drop Discipline. Now you're going to lose about 584 energy shield. It's fine, not a big deal. And if you wanted to, you can even bump up your Clarity because you're going to have a lot more mana to spend. So that's an option if you can't find yourself an Enlighten, whether you're playing SSF or whatever the case may be. Our last 4 link is our cast when damage taken setup. So we have Steel Skin linked with cast when damage taken. I'm not too sure on increased duration. because I don't think Steel Skin really has like a duration tag. It says it does. I just don't know how it works. Like, I know how it works, but if it's like a mortal call, right? I don't know if increased duration really affects it that much. It probably does. I do know that increased duration does affect Vol Righteous Fire, so there's that. Vol Righteous Fire, it did get changed this league. Instead of sacrificing 30% of your energy shield and life, it now sacrifices 60% of your energy shield and life. But it still does grant the 28% more spell damage at level 20. The only thing I will say about this is just be careful popping your Vol Righteous Fire when you're in a boss fight, because you could potentially die, right? We don't want that to happen. Yeah, when it was 30%, it really wasn't that serious or like that big of a worry to sacrifice your life. Now it's sacrificing a pretty big chunk, so just be careful. That's really all I have to say. Our next 3 buff, or our 3 link debuffs, this will actually be in our shield. So this will be in our, this will be in our wand, because we want to craft ourselves a trigger wand at some point. So we have Stormbrand. Stormbrand has 2 purposes. It is to trigger elemental equilibrium. So it hits them with lightning damage, making them take more fire and more cold damage. It also is going to be proccing or triggering our elemental overload. So we want to crit with Stormbrand, which will give us more damage. So that's why we do that. Frostbite is our curse. This just lowers their cold resistance, pretty easy to understand. And then Frostbomb debuffs their cold resistance as well. This says 25%, but it's getting reworked to 15%. So it's not going to be as potent as it is now. This is going to change. As well as their life and energy shield recovery rate, or regeneration rate, is going to be significantly lower. So that's kind of good there. And then lastly is our movement skill, Flame Dash, just because I think it's the best. Second Wind, that way we have a 4th use. We can spam it 4 times really quickly before we have to wait. And then finally, Arcane Surge at level 7. That way, every time we cast Flame Dash, we get the Arcane Surge buff, which grants us more spell damage and some mana regeneration rate. So we'll have 100% uptime with that, assuming that we've Flame Dash in the last 4 seconds. So good to go. On to the items. Now this is where I say that this is 100% a very genuine Leaguestart build. There are no uniques, and I have them labeled, and you will notice that they're pretty much just life, ES, and resistance items, right? Except for the wand. All it has is cold damage over time, and this is the very bottom tier 2 mod, right? I wanted to be very modest on this roll. Technically, let's just go to like tier 3. Let's go to tier 3. Damage doesn't really change that much. So yeah, there we go. A high rolled tier 3. Pretty easy to get, honestly. I wouldn't think people would have too much trouble getting that. Again, just a lot of life, ES, resistance. I do want to show you that on all of these rolls, I didn't like slam, perfect T1 life and ES. No, this is the very bottom roll of tier 3. I like to do that. That way you guys know that I'm not like, yeah, all you need is just like 6 tier 1 affixes and you're good to go, right? So it's also just a good way to show you that life and ES, they're not bad now, but they can get much, much better with better gear. All right. That being said, why do I feel like I lost life for some reason? Thought it was just over 5,000. Interesting. Whatever. Not a big deal. Moving on. Yeah, life, ES, and resistance, and then in some cases some attributes, because we are hurting on strength and dex mostly. But you can get those through your gear pretty simply. Not a big deal. The belt, Stygian Vice, again, life, ES, resistance. I do have this as a 50 strength, so that's actually a pretty good amount of strength. So there's that. You have plenty of passive nodes you can just take, take these two right here, physique and might. Pretty easy to do. Abyss Jewel, this is just life and damage over time while holding a shield. Pretty much the same thing for these jewels down here. It's percent life, percent cold damage over time multiplier. Nothing too crazy. The flasks, we go Experimenter, Sulfur of Warding. Experimenter so that it'll last much longer. Warding so that we're not being affected by curses. Sulfur Flask is just nice. 40% increased damage. Creates consecrated ground when used, which gives us better, or I should say more life regen. And enemies that are on consecrated ground, I believe, take critical strikes a lot easier as well. Alchemist Granite Flask of Iron Skin. This is a huge, absolutely huge defensive flask. Use this flask whenever you feel like you are about to take a pounding, right? This gives us 7,500 armor and about 46% physical damage reduction, depending on how powerful the monsters is, right? That's how armor works. It scales per however much damage they're doing. Anyway, next up, Experimenter's Quartz Flask of Curing. This is just chance to dodge an attack. Just another small little defensive layer, nothing too crazy. It does grant us phasing, which allows us to move freely and through enemies. That way, if we get crowded by our enemies, we're not going to get kind of locked in an area or body blocked by them, I should say. And then we just go of curing because we want to get rid of poison. This one is probably is the most one that can be changed. For instance, if you're doing something like Eradicator, you could probably pop in a Topaz Flask to kind of help not take so much lightning damage. What's something else? If you're tired of being shocked, you can do of grounding to help prevent shock. So this one's the one that you can kind of change most. I just went with this one because to me it just kind of fits everything. Depending on what boss you're fighting, you can kind of change that around as well. Alchemist Quicksilver Flask of Adrenaline, just because we want to go faster. Self-explanatory. And then lastly, Seething Divine Flask Staunching. This is our panic flask, right? If we take a big hit, we go, oh shit, we need to heal. This is the flask we use. This will heal us instantly. I do want to say that we don't use an Eternal Life Flask because when we have the Seething modifier on an Eternal Flask, you actually regain less life. Hi, Odie. Popper wants to say hi. Other than that, this is pretty much it. Pretty self-explanatory, very simple, very easy gear to obtain. Nothing that's going to be too crazy. I do want to show this. I don't have like a crazy amount of these checked. Just pretty much the ones that are going to be up 100% of the time, which are enemies are chilled and enemy was hit by lightning damage. All right. We can get frenzy charges, which gives us more damage, but again, you're not going to have that up 100% of the time. As well as elusive, you're not going to have that up 100% of the time as well, because especially if you're doing something like a boss fight, right, and something that requires on-kill effect, you're not going to be able to do that in a boss fight. So anyway, that's it. That's this. Oh, actually, go over Ascendancy. Occultist, obviously. First off, you're going to want to pick Void Beacon, then Frigid Wake. I would then go Vile Bastion. That way we can have better ES or life pool recovery, as well as the Cannot Be Stunned, which is nice. And then finally Profane Bloom. That way we can hexproof enemies. Bandits +2. That's just the better option. Pantheon, I picked Solaris and I picked Grothkul. I think those are just the best. I think that's really all I have to go over. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy the build guide. Hope you guys have a really good ultimatum. If you have questions, I will put my Twitch and my Discord down in the description below. Feel free to come by, check out, ask any questions that you have. That being said, I'm out of here. Thank you guys for hanging out. Appreciate you. See you later.